Hey there, thanks for tuning into Duck Bricks. I'm Chris, and well, it's no secret that my eventual goal for my LEGO collection is to one day open up a LEGO museum, a dedicated public space where folks can actually come and see the collection for themselves and learn a little bit about LEGO history, as well as get inspired about building and raising the next generation of future builders. It's something I'm really excited about working towards, and honestly see a goal in the next 5 or 10 years that I could really make it happen. But before that happens, I figured, you know what? I have enough museum-style displays in my collection. Why not actually start trying to transform the collection itself into a bit of a museum? And so what I've done is I've gone around and picked out some of the rarest, some of the most special and unique items, and put little information plaques right besides them, talking about the history and the details, where they came from, the year they originated, all sorts of really interesting information. And I can't wait to showcase that right now as an update to my LEGO collection. And so let's check those out right now. And of course, let me know in the comments, what do you think also deserves an information plaque in my LEGO room? Let's go. So the first piece here that I obviously have had in my collection is kind of a museum piece on its own already, is this set of test production bricks that hail from the early 1950s. So these bricks are actually from the early development of LEGO pieces, and if you really zoom in and look closely at the details of these bricks, many of them do not actually have the LEGO logo on them, and for the ones that do, they are all very strange colors, and many of them also have these markings of A, B, C, and D on them. And you know what? I figured, well, this is kind of a strange thing that takes a pretty long time to explain, so what I've done is I've made this special information plaque alongside the bricks themselves that kind of talk through the history of these bricks. Now, a lot of the text on this particular one come from an interview that the Brothers Brick did with Fantastic Brick, who was actually the person who gave me all of these bricks, and I actually was able to consolidate that and talk specifically about these bricks right here. If you want, you can pause the video and learn a little bit more about what I've put together here, but that's what the A, B, and C, D means. And of course, I did list where all of these come from. So you have the Borg Warner Amsterdam and Grangemouth Scotland factories, the Bayer factory in Filago, Italy, and the BASF factory in Germany are some of the factories where these particular strange test bricks originate from, which is super cool. It definitely is one of the most exciting parts of my collection, and it absolutely is something that, well, it belongs in a museum. And if I really want to make this into a museum, this is going to be absolutely one of the crown jewels of the collection. Moving on from that though, I just returned from a trip over to Denmark with Christian Faber, the creator of Bionicle. Well, Bionicle isn't the only thing he created, because Christian Faber was personally responsible for the marketing, ad campaigns, logos, descriptions, box art, you name it, of all of the campaigns of a ton of other classic LEGO sets, from Space to Pirates to Castle to Exoforce, and yes, LEGO Star Wars. Christian Faber is responsible for so much more than Bionicle, and he was kind enough to actually give me some of these scans for the actual original artwork for me to actually take home, scan in, share with everybody online, and also be able to add to my own museum. So I will be working on scanning in these pieces of original artwork. They're actually hand-drawn, either marker on paper or just pencil on paper, and actually putting them online with high-quality scanners, like what I've done for some of the other Bionicle documents. And I am working my way through them because there's a ton, and to be honest, some of the documents he gave me were literally scans of documents that they were actually poorly scanned in like the early 1990s. So the quality isn't the greatest on some of those, but for the ones I framed, these are the originals, and there's so much more. But of course, I had to start off with this classic LEGO Pirates advertisement. This was used in some of the catalogs and magazines here. And if you look here, I have some information as terms of what set it actually was advertising. 6261 Raft Raiders, as well as the advertisements and catalogs that it actually was eventually featured in, which is super cool. The same goes for this trio of sketches here, which are the original concept pitches for a theme called Battle Peak, which of course eventually became LEGO Exoforce. And here's a direct quote from Christian Faber about the original theme of Exoforce right here, which is super cool. I actually managed to put a quote in for the information plaque here, and that's what they look like. It's just so awesome to see the original designs. He had no idea what the sets would look like, so he basically had to kind of come up with whatever he figured. You can obviously, this is kind of the evolution of this design, or maybe it's the other way around, but it's the humans versus robots idea here, and this is a little bit more fleshed out. All of these eventually became colored posters, which he also printed out and gave to me, but unfortunately, they're too large to put up in my collection right now. I literally have no room for them, so those are going to be in storage for a little longer until I actually get a larger museum. Next up, of course, in that collection are some of these artwork pieces of one of my favorite LEGO space themes, Blacktron. Now, this is, of course, for Blacktron 2, and I just love this image of the ship flying through the canyon. That was one of my favorite Blacktron 2 sets growing up and playing around with it. That had the two twin pods and the rover in the center. It's just such a cool set, and seeing it depicted with such beautiful artwork is so amazing here, where you can see this one is going alongside the planet, where you have this energy crackling on the planet itself. You have a look at the main base. And of course, I had to include an image of the actual advertisement as well, printed out on the information plaque here, where this is the final image. Also, of course, photographed and edited by Christian Faber back in the day. But that is the original concept drawing when he was trying to come up with the idea behind this LEGO space advertisement. So it is super cool and special to be able to include that here. Speaking of Christian Faber and Bionicle, there are some other items here that are very special, and of course, that is the 100% complete LEGO Bionicle mask collection. This is pretty much everything minus some of the one-off giveaways they did, like the solid gold Bionicle How and the solid platinum Evoke. Those ones are a lot more special and kind of one-off masks, but in terms of the general masks here, I actually have all of these standard retail ones, plus a ton of misprints as well, where you can see they kind of continue alongside my collection right here. And because of that, I really wanted to call out some of the most special ones on this information plaque here, where you can see this is a complete Bionicle Kanohi mask collection from 01 to 2016, of course covering both G1 and G2. And I actually did try to call out some of the rarest ones, like the EU exclusive misprint Noble masks, which are these two right here, these two columns, and the approximate values of the full set there. I think probably the rarest one here is probably the Transblue Mask of Water, which was only 200 produced for the Inside Tour, around $4,500. So some of these masks are just super rare, and it was really exciting being able to actually talk through the history of them, the power sets, and the value of them, because I do have them all lined up right here. And there is that Mask of Water, which is super special to get as a nice collectible. Moving on from that, talking about exclusive items, I chose one of the other rare items on the information plaques here to be the exclusive T-Rex. Now, this is a really great one. I actually have the box displayed with it. I'm not a box collector, and y'all know that, but I could not pass up the chance to display the box alongside it. And this is set number 4000031, exclusive T-Rex from 2018. Only 500 copies exist, 100 of which were exclusive to Belgium. And this is when they partnered with European and Russian toy stores to produce this exclusive T-Rex, valued at around $8,000 to $12,000, because this was so hard to get. Again, a really nice information plaque that I made just to kind of print out on some standard LEGO bricks and act more like a museum where this is concerned. Moving on from that, though, we journey on upwards, and there's even more specialized LEGO items here. One of the most special items that we have here are some of the test colors of the Noble Kanohi, the brown Kanohi Komau and white Kanohi Huna. These were test colors that were made in the early days of conceptualizing Bionicle. We actually know this from the original story Bible from Christian Faber, where they originally had 8 Toa masks, these 6 we know of, and then these 2. Of course, they eventually cut it down to 6, but the remaining masks are repurposed for the Taraga. I don't know how many of these exist. I know that at least 2 exist, because I know one other person that owns it. I literally don't know anybody else who owns these, so I genuinely don't know how many exist. The value of these is really high, 8 to 10K for these, which is absolutely crazy for single LEGO pieces, but definitely something that deserved a bit of a focus point in the collection. Moving on to another prototype element here, we have the medium blue trident. This, of course, never was molded in medium blue. It only came in the solid blue, and this actually came from Christian Faber. I know that 4 copies that we know of exist. I owned 3. I sold one of them with his permission, of course, and kept the other two, one for myself and one in my collection, because I'd love to trade it for a prototype in the future. And I know one other person has it out there, but that's really all that we know of, and it's super cool. I also found a pretty unique way to display this one utilizing the metal blue ratchet joint from the Super Battle Droid, which I felt was a kind of a cool plinth for it that almost feels Bionicle-esque in the markings on that piece. Moving onwards, we have yet another really special item from Christian Faber, and that is this set of prototype minifigures here. These ones are prototype Ultra Agents, Galaxy Squad, and Lego Friends mini doll prototypes, and yes, that is an unprinted, quote-unquote, Naked Friends mini doll, which was meant for the development of Lego Friends back in 2011 and 2012. Obviously, these are prototype minifigures from Galaxy Squad. This one actually seems pretty close to the actual one. Some of the printing is slightly different and more faded, but this one's really cool because it's actually fully unprinted. The actual minifigure has a black visor, so the finalized one that we did get over here, you can see that black visor and white and black printing on the helmet itself, but they actually didn't do that for the prototype, and they kept it to just a plain unprinted piece, which is super cool when I just discovered that in his collection. And these are really awesome because technically you can create these 2 minifigures here. They are meant to represent the Ultra Agents villains. Of course, you can see which ones they correspond to, but this was Lego designers just throwing together existing pieces, like you have War Machine's torso, Iron Man's legs from Iron Man 3, a collectible minifigure armor piece, an Uruk-hai head from Lego Lord of the Rings, and they just kind of combined them into what they wanted these figures to look like because they didn't have the finalized prints available, where you can see the final minifigures actually end up looking pretty different, where you can see right here, that is Infernox right there, who obviously got a full-on set of specialized prints for the face, armor, and everything. And then you have one of the other villains right there as well. So all sorts of really cool elements, and I really love how they actually made them feel a lot more special in the way that they were set up to just make them their own unique characters for this story, but just using existing Lego pieces. Overall, that's a really cool part of Lego history, and it's something they do a ton of times in the development of Lego themes, which is using existing minifigure pieces from around that time to create mock-ups of characters. But it's awesome to see what they actually did look like for Ultra Agents, because we've never seen these before. And then moving on from that, we have one of the other special items here. And I've done a full-on video on this, but this is the Lego Friends 10th anniversary gift. We don't really know how many were made. Some say 100, some say 50. I was even told 10, so I genuinely don't know how many of these exist, but they were given to Lego Friends employees in 2022 to celebrate the 10-year anniversary. But 2 were also given to fan media members at Fan Media Days last year in September, where I was actually given this by Evan from Tips and Bricks, who got it from one of the Lego Friends design leads and felt like it deserved a place in my collection. I am continuously and eternally grateful to Evan for giving me this, and I can't wait to hang out with him more when I'm in New York, when I move in a couple of months. But yeah, this is a really cool special part of my collection and easily one of the rarest items I have here. And then finally, I did create a plaque that kind of talks through the complete Lego convention exclusive minifigure collection. Obviously, these ones are kind of all scattered because I have them split up across all of the different walls, so I didn't really have a particular place to put this, but I kind of have it here next to the Marvel minifigures because I felt like it made the most sense to have this all the way by Marvel. And what's pretty cool is I tried to list literally every single convention exclusive minifigure I own and the values of each of them. And there are some really rare items here. You've got like the Captain America, the Iron Man, some of which are super expensive, Spider-Woman 8 to 10K, Amazing Spider-Man $15,000 for a single minifigure. So we have some of the rarest pieces, even Baby Ryu, the exclusive one from Ninjago. So there are some super rare pieces here, and you can actually see every single one already on the wall here. I'm not going to call out every single minifigure because we'd be here all day, but there's that Iron Man, and then where's Spider-Man? Somewhere over here. Yep, there is the original Amazing Spider-Man right there. We've got Spider-Woman Over here, lots and lots of super rare Comic-Con minifigures. If you just look closely, like you've got the collector over there. And I did try to just put them in places that made sense throughout this wall. So whoops, just knocked over Spider-Gwen right there when I'm moving my hand around. But I really did try to kind of keep them in places that made sense. Like the Steve Rogers Captain America is right over there, right next to the other New York Toy Fair Captain America. And then I believe the Falcon Captain America is somewhere here as well. Yeah, there he is. So really just tried to give them unique spots in the collection. And the same goes for the DC ones, where over here, we've got some figures like the black suit Superman right there alongside the other Superman minifigures. We even have the original Green Lantern from Comic-Con, Green Arrow, which is also a minifigure worth like $8,000 to $10,000 for that alone, the original Shazam, and all sorts of really cool stuff. Yes, the Ninja Turtles did get convention exclusives, so they are here too, and even the Lego Movie got convention exclusives in these two Unikitty variations right here that are a little more prominent than the others. So really tried to give those a special spot in the collection because there are so many unique ones. But then finally we make our way to what is, in my opinion, probably one of the most special items, and that are some prototype 3D printed Lego Bionicle sets circa 2000 to 2001. So it's not very obvious here, but if you feel the canister, this is paper. This is actually a different material. It's a little bit damaged there, and that was how I got it, but it's a different material than what they used for the actual canisters. It's not even attached to the canister itself. And you have Onua and Pohatu's canisters here, which is super crazy to actually see using more of a cardboard paper material for it. But what's really special are the figures, because these are prototype Bionicle figures. The dead giveaway for Onua is right here. You can see the code on the mask there, so you actually have a prototype version of the mask where they had a code displayed on the front of the mask. But if you look even closer and do a comparison with the original, every single one of the new Bionicle pieces for that time are 3D printed. So the torso is 3D printed, the claws are 3D printed, the feet are 3D printed, and look, you can kind of see the lines. Like if you look right on the right lighting, you can actually see the difference in the way these were produced. If you go underneath the feet, there are little imperfections and little bits of plastic that show where it was printed. And I will be doing a full-on video showcasing these figures later on and comparing them to the actual things, because it's not every day I actually have prototypes in my collection. So there you can see for Kopaka, the mask has some specialized 3D print lines right there. This was Lego's early attempts at 3D printing, so we have some really, really cool historical specimens here and absolutely fantastic pieces to be included in this wall of history. Of course, those are just a few of these special rare items in my collection, and I personally would love to hear your suggestions on what other elements to showcase. Of course, we have Mr. Gold here. Didn't do an info plaque for him, but I just figured it was a nice one to get. Someone put a stud in his hand. I did not put that there. Someone was messing around with him, I think, when I had a ton of guests over a few days ago. But over here, here's another one I did do a plaque for, and that is the Zach the Lego Maniac exclusive gift, which was made for store managers at the Brand Retail Conference in 2016. So that is that right there. But overall, there are so many other really special and rare items that I have available to showcase. We've got like some employee exclusive minifigure business cards, a signed comic by Greg Farshty, signed stuff from Christian Faber, a signed manual from the Win Kid, which is awesome. We have my original guest badges from some of the guided tours that I got when making my official Lego set, signed by some really cool Lego designers as well, which is awesome. I even have a book signed by the former CEO of Lego, Kjeld Kirk Christensen, personalized to me, which is pretty crazy. But I feel like those are more like personalized signatures. Of course, Tommy Andresen as well, creator of Ninjago, and signatures from The Fold. But those are more personal signed things, so they didn't really feel like artifacts to me. They were kind of just specialized things in my collection. And while of course there are a ton of rare minifigures and Bionicle masks were already called out here, there's just almost too much to decide what to actually call out as special and super, super rare. But of course, there are some items that I feel are just that special that need to be covered. I do have the wooden duck, and I did do a full-on video showcasing that. So that's one of the wooden ducks. It's not the oldest one, but it is one of them. And obviously that one does deserve an information plaque at some point. Technically, I would say this does too, because this was an original prop from my season of LEGO Masters. It was the blimp scene in the LEGO 2K Drive episode that I got from Atlanta Brick Co. So that's a super special item, and there are probably a few other things here and there. I mean, I have every LEGO house set. I have the canceled LEGO Technic Osprey. I don't think you can see it from here, but it's in that room. I've got the canceled LEGO Overwatch set, the canceled LEGO Christmas Mrs. Claus GWP. There are some pretty cool store displays here, so I mean, those are cool, but those aren't necessarily museum plaque worthy. And I guess the LEGO Masters trophy, maybe that one is museum plaque worthy, but everyone does know what it is. I tried to preserve the plaques for stuff that feel like they might be just normal things at first glance, until you look closer and go like, oh wow, that's something really special or rare. So we'll see, but would love to hear your suggestions. Also would love to hear your suggestions on what on earth to do with these. Like, as you know, I don't care about packaging, and I display minifigures out of the packages, so like, I literally don't care about the Comic-Con packaging, but at the same time, it feels kind of bad to just have them be sitting here doing nothing. So if you have ideas on how to display these nicely in a museum, that'd be nice. I got another one of those like medium blue tridents there. I just don't know what to do with that second one, but I'll hold on to it for now, see if I can trade it for a prototype. But yeah, I mean, we are just starting off here because there are all sorts of super special, very nice and rare LEGO pieces of history that I can't wait to showcase even more. And I have so much more to say, like these Chinese exclusive golden coins. I probably should do a plaque for those, because those are like $800 to $1,000 for the full set of those coins. Just some really crazy things here, but it is just all on the step to making this into a museum. So I hope you enjoyed this look at what I want to do with my collection, kind of a sneak peek into where I see the collection going in the future. And I would love to hear your suggestions on what other crazy rare things do you know that I own that I should make a plaque for. All right, and with that, that sums up a pretty minor, but to me, a pretty significant update to my LEGO collection, really slowly transitioning it from just a collection over to a museum. And for me, it's just super cool to finally have the chance to actually have some information plaques up. I recently threw a party here in the LEGO room and had about 20 people over, and it was really cool because they could actually go up and see the different bits of information as they looked around the collection, just taking it one more step into building this into a full-on LEGO museum. That's all for this video, and of course, I do want to hear from you what other items in my collection deserve a plaque like that. That's all for now. Thank you so much for tuning into Duck Bricks. Be sure to like and subscribe for even more LEGO news, reviews, discussion, and analyses coming your way very soon, and bye for now.